Hi there, it's Whitney here at Training Center Canada and Smith Security, and today we're here to answer some frequently asked questions. Now, we get lots of questions. One of the favorite things about the training courses that we offer, and we offer quite a few different ones, is the amount of questions that come in, which can really help us to build that good content for students like yourself who just really want to have a fully informed decision about the training and licensing here in Ontario. How do I get a security license in Ontario? The process here in Ontario, it's a 40-hour ministry compliant course that has to be taken. So for instance, we offer that training, $99.99 on our website. You have to also have an emergency first aid and CPR course and a valid certificate. So you cannot get a TCN until you have completed that 40-hour training and have that emergency first aid, CPR course. Once you finish that course, you get a TCN that's issued. With that, you can write your exam. Once you get to that exam, you pass it, you're gonna need to get what's called a CRJMC. So that's a criminal record and judicial matters check. That didn't used to exist. That is newer to the industry, that they're making you as the student provide that, but nonetheless, that's something that you have to get. We do offer that for $59.99 and it's instantaneous result. Next is the applying for that license. So it's $80 for the licensing fee, and that's for 2 years. Next question, how long is the Ontario Security Guard course? Again, it's a 40-hour course. 32 hours of that is the actual security portion and 8 hours of that is your emergency first aid CPR. Nice and simple, nothing further on that one. That's a nice and easy one. How do I start a security course? Again, you're purchasing that 40-hour training course. You got to get that emergency first aid CPR. You need to get that CRJMC. You have to book your exam at either a drive test center, or you can also book it online and you can have a proctor essentially watches you to ensure there's compliance and no cheating while you're taking the exam. And then once you pass that exam, you can apply for your security license. How much is security training in Ontario? Our ministry compliant course is $99.99. Everybody's different in the industry. Ultimately, I'm not sure what everybody else is charging, but a pretty standard rate is $99.99. And we also offer emergency first aid training here in the Toronto area and in many cities throughout Ontario, and that's $105.99. So both can be purchased directly on our website, trainingcentercanada.ca. How long does it take to become a security guard in Ontario? Again, it's a 40-hour course, but that really is completely up to you. Some people do it in days. I've seen students that, man, they must not have slept very much, but they busted it out in like 3 or 4 days and they must have just every day really put that time in because they just wanted to complete. Now our modules are timed, so you cannot run through the course faster than you're allowed. That's one of the reasons we are a compliant training provider, because those modules are timed. I would say on average, you're 10 to 20 days, but it's completely up to you. So if it takes you days, weeks, months, really take it easy, work it at your own pace. I would say it's easier if you do it sooner, than that information is current and in your mind and it's fresh, and that's gonna help you for the exam. But you have to go with what's available with your schedule. Is the security exam hard? Yes and no. It's not designed for failure. Ultimately, it's designed for compliance and understanding. So if you don't pay attention during the course and you don't take those mock exams or the exam preps that we have, you might find yourself a little challenged, right? They do get you when it comes to the exam questions. They might ask something what not to do or what to do, and that can trip people up. They're not designed to fail, but you need to know the rules, the acts, and the guidelines that surround the industry, and you need to take your time, read the questions, and make sure that you understand the question that's being asked. I would say the majority of times, we have a 100% success rate. I don't see people failing the exams, but at the end of the day, just make sure that you're putting the time in and you're paying attention, and take those mock exams as many times as you need to. What are the 4 requirements to be a security guard in Ontario? So this is direct from the ministry. So you have to be at least 18 years old. You have to be eligible to work in Canada. You need that clean criminal record, and you have to take that basic training. We have people that they ultimately maybe are living in another country or they're traveling to another country, but they want to take the training while they're traveling. That's fine. You can purchase the course and you can take that. You just ultimately aren't gonna, physically potentially be able to work, obviously, until you're here in Canada. But you can take that training early if you want. That's not a problem. How much is the Ontario Security Guard exam? $35 plus tax, and that's for each attempt. So ultimately, if you fail it for whatever reason, if you book it and you show up and then you get a phone call and there's an emergency in your family and you have to leave, you're gonna have to reschedule that and you are gonna have to pay for that. How do I get a security certificate in Ontario? So again, some people call it certificate. We would say that's getting your license. So again, it's that 40-hour course. You have to be 18 years of older, eligible to work in Canada, have that clean criminal record. You have to have your CPR. You book that ministry exam. $39.55. You do your criminal record check, which we offer, $59.99, and then you apply for the license with Service Ontario, which it's $80 for a 2-year license. Now, if you think of the grand scheme of the cost of getting into an industry where you can start making pretty much 20 bucks or more per hour right away, the costs are really low. You're talking 100 bucks for training, 39 bucks, 80 bucks, 59 bucks. I mean, realistically, for basically under $500, you're getting to work in an industry for 2 years and with no other costs. And then your only other costs outside of that is just the renewal of the license. So definitely a good industry to work in, especially with little to no experience and maybe just a high school diploma. Can we give a security guard test online in Ontario? We as the training providers, we do not give that test. So that again is through Serco and or at a drive test center or online. So that's gonna be proctored with somebody. So that's not something that training providers ourselves do, but it is something that ultimately is done online through Serco or at a drive test center. How hard is the security test? Again, it is not designed for failure, but it is designed for compliance. They want to make sure that you read and understand fully the industry that you're about to work in, especially the Trespass Act, for instance. You want to make sure that if you're going to be trespassing somebody from a property, that you understand what you're doing. You need to understand those de-escalation techniques to make sure that you're the best guard you can be and you don't start fights where there doesn't need to be, right? So it's not designed for failure, but it is designed for compliance. So make sure that you study, make sure that you pay attention, and make sure that you take those mock exams as many times as possible. They're there for your convenience. We also offer an exam prep. It's $20, and at the end of the day, there's 700 questions. You can run through that. It's gonna just make your mind and challenge you, because it's gonna ask the same question in a lot of scenarios, but in different ways, which is what the ministry will do with their exams. They're gonna ask questions in different ways that potentially trick you. So you wanna read all the questions and take your time. That's the biggest thing. And finally, we have this on all of our websites and all the content everywhere, but we always get this question: will I receive a TCN after completing the course? The biggest reason people are asking this is because the ministry underwent some very serious changes. The only way you're going to get a TCN is if the training provider is also a licensed security agency. I own Training Center Canada, but I also own Smith Security. So I can offer you a TCN because I own a security company, and the same thing on the investigation side. I own an investigations company, so I can also offer that TCN. Make sure that when you're looking into training, you find a compliant training provider. You want a good course, you want the best one on the market, and that's here at trainingcentercanada.ca.